My friends, life gives each one of us a glass. What goes into that glass is our choice. Some people fill it with sparkling clarity, gratitude, wisdom, discipline, kindness, and purpose. Others let the smoke of stress, negativity, overthinking, comparison, and anger settle into it until they can't even see their own potential. The truth is simple. Life itself is neutral. What we pour into it decides whether it becomes sparkling or smoky. Every morning life asks us silently, what would you like to add to your day today? And without realizing it, we give our answer through our habits, attitudes, and reactions. If we wake up complaining, the day becomes smoky. If we wake up grateful, the day begins to sparkle. Even when nothing outside has changed, let me tell you a small example. Imagine two people stuck in the same traffic jam. One is fuming, shouting, banging the steering wheel. The other turns on a calm playlist, breathes, and smiles because it's the only moment in the day they actually get to pause. Same situation, different inner world. One creates smoke, the other creates sparkle. Life is not about controlling everything around us. It's about mastering everything within us. When the world throws challenges, we have two choices. Either burn our peace and darken our minds with smoke, or transform that friction into the spark of growth, insight, and strength. The great mistake many people make is thinking that sparkle comes from big achievements, fancy things, or constant success. No. Sparkle comes from simplicity, small acts of kindness, quiet gratitude, healthy boundaries, peace of mind, and the ability to laugh at ourselves. Smoke, on the other hand, comes from ignoring the inner work and chasing outer validation. So today, ask yourself, are you lighting the candle inside you, or are you letting the smoke of unnecessary pressures suffocate your brilliance? Choose what you pour into your inner glass. Choose what you carry in your heart. Choose whether you walk through life sparkling or smoky. And remember, your life becomes the result of the choices you repeat, not the choices you make once. So fill your life with habits that sparkle, not thoughts that smoke. Choose clarity over confusion. Choose peace over noise. Choose purpose over distraction. Because when your inner world sparkles, your outer world begins to shine automatically. Life is like a glass, and every single day we are given the choice of what to pour into it. Most people don't even realize they are holding the glass, let alone notice what they are filling it with. Some pour in gratitude, awareness, calmness, love, and patience, turning the glass clear, bright, and sparkling. Others unintentionally pour stress, frustration, negativity, fear, and comparison into it, filling the glass with heavy smoke. The interesting part is that the glass itself is identical for everyone. It is the content inside that changes the experience of life. This simple idea shows that our emotional state is not as dependent on circumstances as it is on the mindset we bring into those circumstances. Imagine waking up in the morning. The first thought you entertain, the first emotion you hold, becomes the first drop that goes into your glass. If the first thought is, I'm tired, I don't want to do this today, then the smoke begins to form even before stepping out of bed. But if the first thought is, I'm alive, I have another chance today, then a sparkle begins to rise. The world outside is still the same. Your responsibilities haven't vanished. Your challenges haven't disappeared. But the emotion you chose changed the quality of your day before it even started. This is the power of awareness throughout the day. Life keeps handing us opportunities to either brighten or darken the glass. Somebody cuts you off in traffic. Will you pour anger or understanding into your day? A colleague speaks rudely. Will you add irritation or patience? A plan fails. Will you pour blame or resilience? Each small drop may seem insignificant, but by the end of the day, the glass is full, and the quality of your inner experience depends on the sum of these tiny choices. What we call a bad day is often not a single big event, but the accumulation of small smoky moments we didn't notice piling up. The real challenge is not the world's behavior, but our tendency to let others decide what goes into our glass. When we allow one person's negativity to pollute our peace, it's like handing them our glass and saying, "Here, you decide what I feel today." No wise person would do that consciously, yet we all do it unconsciously. We assume that peace or irritation is the result of how others behave, when in reality, the mind is fully capable of choosing its own content. Emotional responsibility is the moment we reclaim our glass and decide to pour intentionally instead of automatically. The sparkling life is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about choosing clarity even when the situation is cloudy. A sparkling mind does not deny difficulty. It simply refuses to become smoky because of it. It knows that dust settles only when the water is still, and similarly, clarity comes when the mind is calm. Anger, overthinking, assumptions, and fear are nothing but forms of smoke that blur our vision of reality. They don't change the situation, they only change our ability to respond wisely to it. Each of us becomes the sum of what we repeatedly pour into our glass. If we pour frustration daily, we become frustrated. If we pour peace daily, we become peaceful. The glass is always waiting, always open, always ready for the next drop. The question is not whether life will give us challenges. It surely will. The real question is whether we will add sparkle to meet those challenges or smoke to complicate them further. The responsibility, the power, and the choice all lie within us. The quality of our daily attitude becomes the invisible lens that colors our entire experience of life, whether sparkling or smoky. Many people underestimate this simple truth. The day does not begin when you open your eyes. The day begins when you decide your attitude. It is not the clock that starts your day, it is your mindset. If you start with irritation, the smallest inconvenience feels huge. If you start with gratitude, even the big challenges feel manageable. Attitude is not something that accidentally happens to us. It is something we choose consciously or unconsciously. And this choice becomes the most powerful force shaping every moment that follows. Think of attitude as the emotional flavor you add to your life. Just as adding salt can change the taste of an entire pot of food, adding a certain attitude can change the taste of your entire day. When someone carries a smoky attitude, complaints, impatience, anxiety, negativity, they find reasons to confirm that smoke everywhere they go. A late bus becomes a disaster. A slow cashier becomes an enemy. A small misunderstanding becomes a personal attack. Their inner smoke magnifies everything. On the other hand, a person with a sparkling attitude, gratitude, optimism, calmness, humility, also finds reasons to confirm their sparkle. The same late bus becomes extra thinking time. The same slow cashier becomes a chance to breathe. The same misunderstanding becomes an opportunity for clarity. The outer world didn't change. The inner attitude did. What people often forget is that attitude is the only thing we can fully control. Weather might be bad, people may be rude, circumstances can turn unpredictable. But no one can force you to be irritated. No one can force you to be peaceful. These are inner decisions. And once we start treating them as decisions rather than reactions, we begin to reclaim our inner power. The moment you say, I choose to respond differently today, you stop being a slave to your emotions and start being the master of them. Life constantly tests attitude. Someone says something unkind. Will you allow your inner smoke to rise? Your plan doesn't work out. Will you let frustration build? These moments aren't punishments. They are opportunities to strengthen your inner clarity. A sparkling mindset doesn't mean difficulties disappear. It means difficulties no longer dictate your emotional state. You may feel disappointed, but you won't drown in disappointment. You may feel irritated, but you won't allow irritation to control the rest of your day. That is real strength, the quiet, matured kind that comes from understanding yourself deeply. A powerful attitude also influences the people around you. Human emotions are contagious. A single calm person can bring stability to a tense room. A single grateful heart can lift the mood of an entire group. A single positive presence can shift the energy of a conversation. This is why your attitude is not just a private matter. It is a gift you give or a burden you place on others. A sparkling attitude adds light to spaces. A smoky attitude darkens them. Every morning life gives you two invisible boxes, one filled with reasons to complain and one filled with reasons to be grateful. You always pick one, even if you don't realize it, and whichever box you pick becomes your attitude for the day. The more days you choose the sparkling box, the more your mind naturally learns to find peace, clarity, and strength even in unexpected moments. That is the power of attitude, an inner choice that creates an outer experience. Two people can stand in the exact same situation, face the same challenge, be surrounded by the same environment, yet have completely different experiences simply because their inner lens is different. This is the fascinating truth about human perception. The world is not experienced as it is experienced as we are. When the mind is smoky, cluttered with doubt, irritation, fear, or insecurity, everything outside appears hazy, complicated, and overwhelming. But the mind is sparkling, clear, peaceful, disciplined, and grounded. The same situation feels manageable, even meaningful. Nothing outside changes, yet everything inside shifts the entire experience. Imagine two individuals walking in the same rain. One complains, "Why does this always happen? My day is ruined." While the other smiles and says, "The rain is refreshing. Nature needed this." The rain is the same. The difference lies in the interpretation. This teaches us that circumstances are neutral. Our reactions are personal. Our inner world translates the outer world. If the mind holds negativity, it finds negativity everywhere. If the mind holds gratitude, it finds blessings even in discomfort. This is why some people break in situations where others grow. The pressure is the same, but the mindset differs. One person allows the situation to control them, while the other uses the situation to understand themselves better. One sinks into smoke, the other rises with sparkle. The challenge is not the deciding factor. The emotional responses. The human mind has an incredible ability to exaggerate problems or to shrink them to their rightful size. When we carry unresolved emotions, past disappointments, or inner insecurity, even a small issue feels like a mountain. But when we are internally balanced, even a mountain seems climbable. Think about two students receiving the same difficult assignment. One becomes overwhelmed, convinced they lack the ability. Their smoky thoughts create fear, procrastination, and self-doubt. The other student sees the assignment as a chance to learn something new. Their sparkling perspective generates curiosity, effort, and progress. The assignment did not change, only the interpretation did. This proves that the mind can either be a magnifying glass for problems or a filter that reveals possibilities. The same principle applies to relationships. A simple comment from someone can either be taken as criticism or as concern, depending on the clarity of the listener's mind. A smoky mind interprets neutral words as attacks, while a sparkling mind interprets even difficult conversations with maturity and understanding. That is why communication often fails, not because words were wrong, but because minds were clouded. Every situation in life comes with two layers. In the actual event and the story we tell ourselves about the event. The smoky mind writes stories filled with fear, insecurity, and negativity. The sparkling mind writes stories filled with solutions, acceptance, and growth. The event remains the same, but the story shapes our emotional reality. This is the reason why two people can go through the same setback, losing a job, facing rejection, dealing with failure, and come out with completely different transformations. One feels defeated, the other discovers a new direction. One collapses, the other evolves. At its core, the difference in experience comes from awareness. When we observe our thoughts, instead of reacting blindly to them, we create space space to choose a better response, to see with clarity, to understand rather than assume. This space is where sparkle is born. Without awareness, emotion becomes smoke and vision becomes blurred. The world will continue to present challenges, but the real experience will always depend on the state of the mind facing them. Two different minds, one situation, two completely different realities. Mastering the world outside may sound impressive, but mastering the world within is truly transformative. Many people spend their entire lives trying to fix everything around them, trying to change people, situations, outcomes, opinions, and circumstances. Yet they remain restless. Why? Because peace does not come from controlling the outside. It comes from understanding and controlling the inside. Inner mastery is the quiet strength that allows a person to stay centered even when the world around them is noisy and unpredictable. It is the difference between reacting impulsively and responding thoughtfully. The more you master your inner world, the less the outer world can disturb your stability. Think of the mind as a room. If the room is cluttered, messy, and filled with smoke, even a small inconvenience feels unbearable. But if the room is clean, ordered, and bright, even unexpected challenges don't shake you as much. Most people try to clean the world outside while leaving their inner room in chaos. They want people to behave a certain way, events to go according to plan, and life to align perfectly with their expectations. When these expectations are not met, and life often doesn't follow scripts, they feel discouraged, defeated, or frustrated. But the ones who focus on inner mastery know that peace is not the product of perfection. It is the product of discipline, awareness, and emotional intelligence. When someone speaks harshly, your first instinct may be to react. But mastery means pausing, observing the emotion rising inside you, and choosing a response instead of allowing anger to dictate your actions. This pause is not a weakness. It is a sign of inner strength. It shows that you are not being dragged by emotional impulses. You are leading them. In this way, inner mastery transforms you from a victim of circumstances to the author of your own reactions. Life throws many unexpected situations. Delays, misunderstandings, failures, criticism, rejection. Without inner control, each of these can become a source of smoke that fills the mind with negativity. But with inner mastery, the same situations become opportunities to practice patience, resilience, and wisdom. When you learn to manage your thoughts, emotions, and reactions, you no longer depend on the world to be peaceful for you to feel peaceful. You carry peace within you. People often think that mastery means suppressing emotions, but that isn't true. Real mastery means understanding emotions, seeing them clearly, acknowledging them without letting them overpower you. It means knowing when to express, when to stay silent, when to walk away, and when to stand firm. It means directing your energy towards solutions instead of drowning in problems. It means not letting temporary emotions create permanent damage. A person who has mastered their inner world becomes like a calm lake. Even if the wind blows, the surface may ripple slightly, but the depth remains undisturbed. Such a person responds from clarity, not confusion. They choose their words with awareness, not impulse. They act with intention, not reaction. Others feel comfortable around them because their stability provides a sense of safety. The greatest advantage of inner mastery is freedom. Freedom from unnecessary stress. Freedom from overthinking. Freedom from the pressure to please everyone. Freedom from the need for external validation. Freedom from reacting emotionally to every inconvenience. This freedom allows you to live with dignity, grace, and strength. Once you understand that mastering yourself is far more powerful than mastering the world, your life begins to sparkle with purpose and peace, regardless of what storms may come your way. Sparkle in life is not created by extraordinary achievements or dramatic successes. It is created by the simple, quiet, everyday choices we often overlook. Many people assume that happiness is hidden in major milestones: buying a home, getting a promotion, earning recognition, or reaching a big goal. While these moments are wonderful, they are rare. If sparkle depended on such occasional victories, most of life would feel dull. But the truth is that sparkle comes from the small, consistent, and often invisible habits: gratitude for what we have, kindness in how we speak, discipline in how we live, boundaries that protect our peace, and the ability to enjoy simple joys. Smoke, on the other hand, builds up from ignoring these small habits and chasing external validation instead. Think about gratitude. Just a few seconds of acknowledging what is already good in your life can shift your entire mood. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, it's not celebrated, but it is powerful. A grateful mind sparkles because it focuses on what's present, not what's missing. Many people spend so much time looking at what others have that they forget the blessings in their own hands. When gratitude is absent, dissatisfaction sneaks in and fills the mind with unnecessary smoke. Everyday sparkle is formed by training your eyes to see the good that's already around you. Then there is kindness, a gentle word, a smile, a moment of patience. These are tiny actions that cost nothing but change everything. The beauty of kindness is that it adds sparkle not only to your day, but to others' days as well. A small act of kindness can lift someone's spirit for hours, even days. People who regularly practice kindness feel lighter internally because they are constantly giving out positive energy instead of storing negativity. When you choose kindness, you choose clarity over confusion and compassion over irritation. Discipline is another hidden spark. Many people misunderstand discipline as restriction, but discipline is actually freedom. Freedom from chaos, inconsistency, and self-sabotage. When you discipline your habits, your time and your thoughts, life becomes organized from the inside. A disciplined person finds sparkle in growth, reading, learning, waking up on time, taking care of their health, and respecting their commitments. These small choices create a shining sense of self-respect. Without discipline, Life gradually accumulates smoke, procrastination, regret, guilt, and mental fog. A sparkling life is built on the backbone of disciplined habits. Boundaries are also an important source of sparkle. When you say yes to everything and everyone, you lose yourself. When you learn to say no when needed, you reclaim your energy. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it is essential. A person who sets healthy boundaries lives with clarity because they no longer allow others, negativity, to cloud their own emotions. Smoke enters the mind not because life is difficult, but because we let too many people disturb our inner environment. Boundaries are the filter that keeps the smoke out and the sparkle in. Finally, the ability to appreciate simple joys, tea in the morning, a quiet walk, a meaningful conversation, a moment of stillness, adds brightness to everyday life. When we expect life to sparkle only through grand events, we miss the beauty of these small gems that appear every single day. A person who trains their mind to recognize simple joys experiences more happiness than someone constantly chasing dramatic highs. Sparkle is not an event, it is a lifestyle. It is created by habits that may seem small but have a large cumulative impact. Smoke, too, is created by small habits, but in the opposite direction: complaining, comparing, overthinking, reacting impulsively, and seeking approval. The difference between a sparkling life and a smoky life is not fate, it is daily choices. Each tiny action either clears the mind or clouds it. Every small decision either lights a lamp or releases smoke. Smoke in life does not enter suddenly, it builds slowly, silently, and consistently through everyday thoughts and habits that most people ignore. Overthinking, comparison, anger, insecurity, and the constant search for validation are the biggest sources of this inner smoke. These patterns may seem small at first, barely noticeable, but over time they fog the mind, blur judgment, weaken confidence, and disturb peace. Many people don't realize that the heaviness they feel is not caused by life itself, but by the invisible emotional smoke created inside their own minds. Overthinking is one of the most common sources of smoke. The mind, when left untrained, has a habit of replaying old situations, imagining problems that don't exist, and predicting negative outcomes. It starts with a simple thought, and suddenly the mind builds an entire story filled with worry or fear. Overthinking doesn't change the situation. It only exhausts the thinker. It drains energy that could have been used for solutions. When the mind becomes smoky with excessive thoughts, even simple decisions feel heavy. Clarity disappears because the smoke of assumptions takes over. Comparison is another subtle but powerful smoke maker. In a world full of social media highlights, it is easy to feel like everyone else is happier, richer, more successful, or more attractive. Comparison blinds us to our own strengths and blessings. It shifts focus from what we have to what we lack. The more we compare, the more smoke fills the mind: jealousy, dissatisfaction, insecurity. No matter how well we are doing, someone will always seem ahead. A constantly comparing mind can never sparkle because it is always looking outward instead of inward. Anger, when left unchecked, is like thick smoke that suffocates inner peace. A small irritation, if not managed, turns into frustration, then resentment, then bitterness. Anger doesn't damage the person who provoked it. It damages the person who carries it. It clouds judgment and destroys emotional balance. Many people allow one moment of anger to ruin hours of their day. When anger becomes frequent, the mind feels heavy, the body feels tense, and relationships suffer. The smoke of anger spreads faster than we realize. Insecurity also contributes to inner smoke. When a person constantly doubts their worth, questions their abilities, or worries about being judged, they create emotional fog that hides their true potential. Insecurity makes people apologize, over-explain, or overthink every decision. It pushes them to seek constant validation from others. This desire for approval becomes endless smoke because no amount of outside validation can satisfy an inner void. The more someone depends on others for confidence, the smokier their inner world becomes. Seeking validation, whether through compliments, attention, or public approval, is another major contributor to smoke. When someone ties their happiness to how others see them, they lose control over their peace. One negative comment can ruin their entire day. One lack of attention can break their confidence. A life built on external approval becomes fragile because its foundation is unstable. True sparkle only comes when approval comes from within, from self-respect, self-awareness, and self-acceptance. All these forms of smoke, overthinking, comparison, anger, insecurity, and the need for validation create inner turbulence that makes life feel heavier than it actually is. The situations themselves are not always difficult. The smoke we generate makes them appear difficult. When the mind fills with too much smoke, even simple joys feel distant. Life stops feeling peaceful because the inner atmosphere is polluted. A smoky mind does not need a big problem to feel stressed. It creates stress even in silence. The journey toward a sparkling life begins by noticing this smoke, understanding where it comes from, and gradually learning to clear it. The mind has the power to create sparkle, but it also has the power to create smoke. The more we recognize these smoke-producing habits, the easier it becomes to reclaim clarity and peace. Small habits are often underestimated because they don't produce instant results, but they quietly shape the entire direction of a person's life. Most people believe that life changes through huge decisions or dramatic moments, but the truth is much simpler. Consistency creates transformation. The things we repeat daily, our thoughts, our reactions, our routines, slowly mold who we become. A single choice might inspire us for a moment, but repeated choices shape our identity. This is why the difference between a sparkling life and a smoky life is found not in occasional motivation, but in the habits we practice every day. Consider how a single drop of water seems insignificant, but repeated drops can carve through stone over time. In the same way, a single act of gratitude, a single moment of patience, a single mindful breath may feel small, but when practiced daily, they transform the emotional atmosphere of our lives. People often say, "I'll change when I get a big opportunity," or "I'll start when the time is right," not realizing that the big opportunities are attracted by the small habits they ignore. A sparkling life emerges not from wishing, but from consistent effort. Even if the effort seems small in the moment, take the habit of complaining, for example. One complaint seems harmless, but if we complain every day, even silently in our minds, we train the brain to look for negativity. Over time, this becomes our default mode of thinking. The mind becomes smoky because we have repeated the habit so often that it feels natural. On the other hand, someone who practices gratitude daily gradually develops a natural tendency to focus on what's going right. Their inner world becomes clearer, lighter, and more hopeful. Not because life is easier but because their habits train their mind to sparkle. The same applies to emotional reactions. A person who reacts impulsively out of anger doesn't become explosive overnight. It happens because they repeatedly chose reaction over reflection. But when someone pauses before responding, even for a few seconds, they are building a powerful habit. The pause becomes longer over time, the clarity becomes stronger, and the emotional control becomes natural. This simple daily practice can change relationships, reduce conflict, and protect inner peace. One pause a day may seem small, but over a year, it can change the entire quality of a person's life. Another example is self-discipline. Waking up a little earlier, reading a few pages every day, eating a little healthier, walking for a few minutes. These habits don't show instant results, so people often give up. But someone who practices them consistently eventually notices that their confidence has grown, their mind is sharper, and their energy is higher. Consistency builds self-respect. When you show up for yourself day after day, the sparkle becomes permanent because you trust yourself. Smoke comes from inconsistency, from promises broken to oneself. Sparkle comes from discipline practiced quietly, without applause. Even the habit of thinking affects the sparkle in life. A person who trains their mind to look for solutions rather than problems develops a natural sense of resilience. They don't collapse easily because their mental habit is to rise. Another person who constantly imagines the worst begins to live in fear even when nothing is wrong. Thought patterns, when repeated daily, become beliefs, and beliefs shape identity. Habits of thinking create either clarity or smoke, depending on what we feed our minds. Ultimately, small habits shape the future in the same way small steps complete long journeys. Nothing happens suddenly, neither success nor failure, neither peace nor anxiety. They are all outcomes of repeated behaviors. Every little choice is a vote you cast for the type of life you want to build. A sparkling life is constructed from tiny, consistent actions that seem insignificant but accumulate into greatness. A smoky life is built from tiny, unconscious habits that slowly darken the mind. Every day, whether we notice or not, we are shaping ourselves through repetition. Life constantly presents us with choices, and every choice leads us closer to either sparkle or smoke. Most people think choices matter only when they are big. Choosing a career, deciding whom to marry, moving to a new city. But the truth is far more subtle. What shapes our life is not the occasional major choice, but the continuous stream of small decisions we make every single day. What thoughts we allow, what emotions we nurture, what habits we repeat, what boundaries we set, what conversations we entertain, and what energies we welcome. These small, daily choices create the long-term direction of our lives. Just like tiny drops of water determine whether a plant grows or withers, every morning when we wake up, we are presented with a choice. Do we begin the day with gratitude or with complaints? That one choice, repeated over months and years, decides whether our inner world becomes sparkling with positivity or smoky with dissatisfaction. Gratitude doesn't make problems vanish, but it gives us the strength to face them with clarity. Complaints don't solve problems, they only magnify them. The mind becomes what it repeatedly chooses to focus on. If we choose negativity daily, the mind naturally becomes negative. If we choose appreciation daily, the mind naturally becomes brighter. In the same way, we choose whether to carry forgiveness or resentment. People will hurt us. It is an inevitable part of relationships. But holding on to resentment is like filling our lungs with smoke and expecting the other person to suffer. Forgiveness is not a favor to the other person, it is freedom for ourselves. Resentment, when chosen repeatedly, creates emotional pollution that blurs our ability to love genuinely. Forgiveness, when practiced even in small amounts, clears the heart and allows sparkle to return. This is the power of choices. They shape our emotional landscape. We also choose what we consume mentally. Every piece of content we watch, every conversation we participate in, and every environment we enter adds something to our inner world. If we choose gossip, negativity, judgment, and drama, we are choosing smoke. If we choose uplifting conversations, learning, wisdom, and inspiration, we are choosing sparkle. People underestimate how much influence their mental diet has on their inner state. Just like the body reflects what we eat, the mind reflects what we absorb. We cannot expect inner sparkle while feeding our mind with outer smoke. Boundaries are another daily choice that determine the quality of our life. Every time we say yes to something that drains us, we choose to let smoke enter our mental space. Every time we respectfully say no to protect our peace, we choose clarity. Boundaries are not about shutting people out. They are about choosing what nourishes the mind instead of what suffocates it. Each boundary we set is a small vote towards a healthier, brighter inner world. Even our reactions are choices. A moment of anger, if chosen repeatedly, becomes a personality. A moment of patience, if chosen repeatedly, becomes wisdom. People often say, I had no choice. I reacted automatically. But reactions are also choices, just quicker ones. With awareness, even reactions can be transformed. The pause between stimulus and response is small, but within it lies the power to choose. And that one pause can turn smoke into sparkle. Ultimately, our life is a reflection of the choices we make repeatedly, not the choices we make occasionally. Every choice, thought, emotion, habit, reaction, either cleans the mind or clouds it. Every day gives us countless opportunities to choose better, to choose brighter, to choose clearer. The direction of our life doesn't change in one dramatic moment. It changes in the quiet, consistent choices made daily, and over time, those small choices determine whether our life shines or suffocates, sparkles or smokes.